What's up? Pow! So I've been studying Japanese for about, 7 months now? And coming to Japan was kind of a spontaneous thing for me in order to learn Japanese. I knew I've always wanted to come to Japan and live in Japan, and the best way for me to do that was to go to Japanese school since I didn't really know any Japanese. I mean, I knew a little bit of Japanese, but not really enough to do anything with it. So I knew a little bit of Japanese before coming, but I didn't really know any, grammar, sentence structures, didn't know enough vocabulary to really say things that I actually wanted. It was more just like barely communicating and mostly using English, but you kind of get the point. So coming to Japanese school was a completely new experience for me, and I didn't really know anything about schools in Japan, especially language schools that teach Japanese to foreigners and people. So coming to Japan was pretty spontaneous. I didn't really know what I was getting into. And if you're interested in coming to Japan in order to learn Japanese, I wanted to give you a few tips, a few things you should know about Japanese schools before you make the decision. Not that my experience has been bad. It's been great for the past 7 months. Of course, things are hard, especially because Japanese language schools aren't like studying abroad or going to an actual university in which they will always help you with housing and you always pay them a little more tuition in order to get what you want and stuff like that. Language schools are very different. They expect you to already have a college education. They expect you to be an adult about everything, You're not really a kid, You have your own responsibilities. A lot of people work and go to school at the same time, or if they're not working, they're either finding a job, doing an arubaito, which is a part-time job, and they're all kind of just involved in different things. I'm not necessarily saying that the school doesn't help you along the way. The school can help you find part-time jobs, it can help you find housing, help you with insurance and stuff like that. But if you're looking for a more step-by-step process where they help you every step of the way, language schools don't really do that. But to start off with just, talking about language schools and stuff, I thought I would just list a few things that I've learned about Japanese language schools that you might have known, might not have known about, and maybe hopefully this video will help you make a decision whether you want to come to Japan in order to learn Japanese, or maybe it'll make the idea and the vision more concrete for you, or you'll be like, oh crap, that sounds really scary and I don't want to ever do that. At least with this video, I'll give you like the information and then you can make a decision from there. And even if you're not planning on studying Japanese in Japan, this information is really cool just to know in general. So if you know someone who is living in Japan going to Japanese language school, you'll kind of know what they're going through, because the process itself isn't very documented, you just kind of hear stuff. So I'm not sure if this is a surprising fact, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of other immersion programs where if you're going to study a language in that country, they do something like this, but the teachers only teach in Japanese. Even from day one, they don't speak any other language besides Japanese. So once you start that first day of class and you're into it, whether you are a little more advanced or you know nothing about Japanese, anything like that, they completely immerse you from day one. So you're only listening to Japanese, speaking Japanese, reading and writing Japanese, everything's in Japanese. Now, of course, there are materials in other languages that can help you, per se. The internet, for sure, that will help you greatly. Also, for the school that I attend, they have the regular Japanese textbook, which you do your activities in, and it's all written in Japanese. And then they also have the what they call grammar notes, which are for grammar, vocabulary, and stuff like that. Things that you wouldn't necessarily know if just someone told you about it. Like if there's oh, this is this word, but you never heard of it in that language before, so you don't even know what it is in your own language. So they provide grammar notes in the language that you speak in order to know what the word, the grammar pattern, anything is. In my experience, pretty much everyone who I've met who is studying Japanese here, they already speak English, even if they're not from America or Europe or anything like that. A lot of them speak English as well. I think knowing English before you come really helps, because there are a lot of English words that are translated roughly the same into Japanese. They're just spoken and written differently. English words are written using katakana, and they are pronounced in the Japanese way as well. Number 2, I feel like it's very important for you to have some interest in Japanese before you come to Japan in order to learn Japanese. If you have no interest at all, then it just makes the process a lot harder, and because they only speak Japanese to you, it's good to, at least be interested, know a few words or phrases, so that from the first day you're not completely lost and you kind of understand little by little. I picked up a lot of my previous Japanese from, I did a elementary Japanese course back in America before I came. I did like 1 or 2, I think, and it was a really long time ago. It wasn't recently, like right before I came to Japan. It was 5 or 6, maybe almost like 10 years before I even decided to come to Japan that I took that. But not a lot of it, but some of the Japanese I learned 10 years ago actually still stuck, and you regain what you've learned when you're in that environment and you hear it a lot and you're speaking it a lot. So it's really good to have some previous background and just some interest in it in order to pick up the language more easier. People who are interested in anime and manga, they have a 1-up as well. People who are interested in Terrace House, I think Terrace House is more important than anime and manga, just because the hanashikata, the way that they speak, is used a lot more in conversations rather than like anime talk. If you talk like an anime person, I mean, you can get by, but it just sounds kind of weird if you're talking like that on the streets. Number 3, there are different types of Japanese schools, so not all Japanese schools are the same. They're not created equally. Just like any college, there's the prestige and all that kind of stuff that kind of goes into it, but the teaching level may or may not be exactly the same. I mean, I think the curriculum across the board is the same, but each school teaches it at a different pace. Some of them specify certain things rather than other things. Tatoeba, for example, some schools are geared to make you pass the JLPT. So the JLPT is the test that you take in order to work in Japan. It measures your Japanese fluency basically. And some schools are designed in order to be like, oh, after a year and a half, 2 years, however long, you will pass the JLPT level 1, which is the highest level. Not all schools are like that though. There are other schools that are geared towards people who aren't super interested in passing the JLPT, but for some reason they're living in Japan but have no Japanese level at all. So it's more conversational, things that you need to know in order to do daily things. That's more of my level of school, I feel like. Not that things are like super slow paced or anything like that, but my school especially, we focus more on talking and communicating, rather we do like specific grammar structures and vocabulary that you essentially need to know for the JLPT test. Because in essence, preparing for the JLPT test is basically like preparing for any standardized test like the SAT, the ACT, or whatever the standardized test is in your area. And for me, I mean, I've done those things, throughout high school and college and my entire life, so it's not like I really wanted to jump into a situation where I was like, oh, I'm taking these classes in order to prepare for a test, because you always have to prepare for some kind of test in the future, and I can always take the JLPT with the knowledge that I have, and it might not necessarily be exactly related to the test itself, but I think I would be able to get by with what I know. And my whole point of coming to Japan and learning Japanese is for more of a communication level rather than passing a test and working and stuff like that. Hiragana and Katakana are very important. That's something that I underestimated before I came. For some reason, I felt like writing wasn't a big deal and I could kind of get away without learning the writing techniques. And boy was I freaking wrong. Even if your speaking and listening levels are really good right off the bat, if you don't have a good writing or reading skill level, you're still going to be placed very low, because it doesn't really matter what school that you go to, even if they emphasize listening and speaking and stuff like that. Reading and writing is important for the JLPT. to read signs outside, like just for everything. And I think my thing was that I don't like to read in any language. Like in college I hated to read my textbooks, so I didn't read them. You know, you come up with ways in order to skim and find the right answer so you don't have to actually read it, and you find the points, and those points are going to be on the test, and so you don't have to read the entire book and spend 100 hours, 100 days, 100 years trying to figure out how to read a 5,000 page book when you just aren't interested in it in the first place. If you are very much interested in coming to Japan and learning Japanese this way, I would master Hiragana and Katakana 100% before you come. That saves a lot of time and exhaustion, because I didn't know it before I came, and I like rapidly learned it within 2 weeks in order to basically catch up with everyone. I don't know, a lot of people knew at least some, if not all of it. That made me feel kind of stupid. Number 5, if you know kanji, you're ahead of the game. If you know kanji, well, I applaud you, because that's great. I mean, if you know kanji, it's probably because you know Chinese. That really helps in order to not really learn the kanji in Japanese, but the meaning itself for the Chinese characters is the same in Chinese and Japanese, but the word associated is different. And there are, you know, some words in the Chinese character and it means different things in the Japanese character, and there's some like Japanese, you know, some of them just don't match up. But for at least up to a certain level, like you can get away with not learning the kanji in Japanese if you already know it in Chinese, because you know the meaning itself. And so a lot of Chinese people they don't even need to take the N5, the N4, the N3. They can start with the N2 because they already know enough kanji, the meaning itself, and then they just need to know the Japanese word that relates to it, but they know the meaning, so they already know all the stroke orders and how to write it and stuff like that. And so then they just need to memorize the meanings, which is a lot easier than someone like me who did not grow up learning or speaking or doing anything with Chinese, and now I have to figure out the order and of the stroke and all that crap, and I can't do it. But if you treat it like a game or like drawing, like if you're an artist or something like that, then it's actually kind of fun. But I've always been a bad artist, and it's not a game because I don't like it. But I mean, hey, I don't do so bad. I think I know probably like 150 or 200, which isn't enough. Like, I feel like if you want to get like good, you should know at least like 1,000 or more, maybe. Like, I think that would make you more comfortable with reading street signs, reading books and stuff like that. I mean, for me, I'm not gonna read any books in Japanese, like most likely, because I don't even read any books in English. And hopefully Japanese will come out with an Audible so that I can just listen to everything. That would be nice. Onegaishimasu. Number 6. I think something that really concerned me before I came is I'm coming at a point in my life where I'm not old, but I was a little more of, you know, established back in California, and I'm not right out of college, you know, just kind of like living my life. I've had work experience and stuff like that, so I thought I was a little old or past my prime in order to, you know, move out here and learn a new language and do all that kind of stuff. I feel like you shouldn't be held back to, like, despite your age, your profession or whatever, you shouldn't be held back in order to take the step to learn Japanese and to move out here if it's something that you want to do and you're passionate about. I was very passionate about it, and I was at a point in my life where I was able to leave everything behind and move out here, and it was a great decision for me, I think, and might not be a great decision for everyone, of course, depending on where you are in life and all that kind of stuff. But there are people in my classes and that I've met who are studying, who are younger than me, older than me, my age, all that kind of stuff. And I don't think, you know, age should hold you back from that. If you're worried about being the, like, youngest person in class, the oldest person in class, like, well, who cares? And these last two are kind of just tips, I think, which will help you if you decide to come to school here. When you're deciding on what school to go to, make sure to have a goal in mind. It could be passing the JLPT, working in Japan, just learning enough in order to make Japanese friends and talk to them. If you want to become like a Japanese teacher in your country or something like that, choosing the school will help guide you through to get to that goal in mind. For me, I wanted to focus more on like speaking and like talking to people and stuff like that. So the school that I chose Even though it is a little slower pace, it really deals a lot more with talking. We do like talking activities at least a few times a day, on top of, our writing and reading and all that other stuff. So it actually really helps with conversation and fluency. I still don't think I'm a very strong speaker. It takes me a while to figure out what I want to say and stuff like that, but I do think that I'm pretty adequate at it, especially that I've only been studying less than a year. And the last thing I want to say is learning Japanese in an immersive environment, which is Japan, is the best way to learn this language, just because I think immersion itself is the best way to learn every language, because you hear it every day, you read it every day, you see it every day, you write it every day, and you need to go through the experiences and just trying to live a life where you need to use this language. And it's not easy if you're a shy person, don't have that much self-confidence or self-esteem. If you don't like being embarrassed by making mistakes and stuff like that, then I wouldn't say reconsider, but I would say you gotta psych yourself up a lot in order to actually make the move, because there is a lot of times where it's like I'm trying to communicate and say stuff, and sometimes it goes really well, and sometimes they're just like, man, what the hell are you saying? But I've had to do everything myself, from registering my address, going grocery shopping and figuring out what the labels mean and all that kind of stuff, getting train access and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of, for the paperwork and stuff, it's not in English, especially when you go do your address and your moving papers and all that kind of stuff. A lot of them don't speak English. You're very, very, very lucky if someone speaks English, and a lot of people will bring someone who speaks English and Japanese to help them out. But if you are, especially for my position, I'm just learning and stuff, so I figured, well, I'll just try and figure it out myself, figure out the words that I need to say, how to communicate with them, what to say, whatever. And that's about it that I want to talk about for now. If you have any other questions about Japanese schools, leave a comment down below. I'll be glad to answer your questions. And if you like this format and style of video where it's more just like informational, my experience kind of thing, please subscribe, comment down below for whatever questions or whatever you want to tell me. Any compliments are good. And follow my Instagram, please, because I've been posting very much, but if I get more followers, then I feel like I'll post more, because I'll be like, Also, if you're curious on the resources I use in order to find my school, I'll leave it in the description below. That's probably the best place to put it. There are a lot of different services that help you find a school. I actually found the school on my own and then used the service in order to contact the school directly, and then just started doing everything through the school and myself. We communicated without using the third party eventually. Third parties can help you also find housing. They'll tell you more about the school, so you're not kind of lost or whatever, because it's hard to really know about the school, especially since you can't tour it unless you're already in Japan. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope this was informational. I don't think all my videos are gonna be this informative and informational and like one-on-one and whatever, but if you want to see more of this, let me know. Otherwise, peace.